The Saints, they took the L. They took the L. They took the L. The Saints lost. The Saints lost. But it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Because we here. Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Happy Friday to you. It's a beautiful day. You woke up this morning. You probably was able to go to work for those that had to. You was able to go throughout your day's journey, and you're here. Despite what's going on with the New Orleans Saints, we are here. And we are here to talk about this team and give our final thoughts on week 7. The Saints opened up the week 7 against the Arizona Cardinals. And boy, this game was horrible. Absolutely horrible. We pretty much had some time to kind of decompress, deal whatever we had to deal with today. And then finally we get back here to get a chance to talk about this team. Look, my final thoughts on week 7 is, if you had high expectations for the New Orleans Saints and what they were supposed to be and what the trajectory was, and you thought they was going to be, a contender, I think you have to go ahead and lower your expectations. The New Orleans Saints aren't who we thought they were. We thought that they were a legitimate contender, and right now they're legitimate losers. To me, the Saints are the worst football team in the NFL. I know right now I think the Detroit Lions have 1 win. Carolina has 1 win, but they got that win over the Saints. So to me, you look at the turnover differential, you look at the turnovers they have, you look at all the things that's going on with the team. It's hard to find another team playing as bad as the Saints, and it is hard to find a team that is worse than the New Orleans Saints. I mean, look, we talk about the Carolina Panthers. They just traded Christian McCaffrey, their franchise player, to the San Francisco 49ers. But at the same time, this was the same team that beat the New Orleans Saints, and 2 weeks later, guess what happened? They fired their coach. You had Cliff Kingsbury over there in Arizona. People were talking about him being on a hot seat. The Arizona Cardinals haven't won a game in 8 tries at home, right? They have been 0-8 at home, and the Saints give them their first victory at home. So to me, I mean, it goes without saying, all right? If you need a get-right game, if you need to go out there and rush for 100 yards and you're not really that capable of running for 100 yards, if you're a quarterback that's been struggling and your fan base is thinking about maybe cutting you, maybe getting you benched, all you have to do is just look at the Saints on the schedule, and lo and behold, the Saints will deliver, because the Saints have no swag. The Saints have no confidence, and it is absolutely embarrassing that this team just goes out there and just continuously slips over themselves, and they have zero accountability. Like even today, okay, Dennis Allen gave these guys the whole weekend off. Okay, how do you cure bad tackling and not generating turnovers? Well, go ahead and have a good weekend, okay, and we'll just take it from here. Dennis Allen, to me, dead man coaching. I hear a lot of people talking about, Dennis Allen might come back next year because, That's not how the Saints roll. But what really do you need to see out of Dennis Allen? I'm serious. What do you need to see out of Dennis Allen that you haven't already seen? Like, it's obvious that this dude is not a good coach. Okay. People were saying, okay, when he was in Oakland, it was a train wreck. And it was. Okay. But what do you do when you're given a quality franchise and you're given quality players that are actually willing to listen to you? You got locker room leadership and you still can't go out there and get it done. And some people would say, well, TJ, what about Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry and Marshawn Lattimore wasn't out there? Well, let me go ahead and go back to week number 1. All right. When the Saints played the Atlanta Falcons. And yes, it was funny at the time. And yes, we had good laughs, but the Saints were getting beat to sleep in that game. And I seen it firsthand because I was actually at the game. And it took a fourth quarter heroics and something that was historic in order for the Saints to win. And Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry were out there. Let's go to week 2, right? When they take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right? Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry were in that game, and Marshawn Lattimore was in that game as well. And what happened? The Saints took the L. All right. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Michael Thomas play in Carolina? Didn't he play in the game with the Carolina Panthers? And they lost that game too. So for anybody that's out here talking about, man, wait till we get all our guys back. Wait till we get all our dudes back. We seen what this team looked like for the most part with all hands on deck. And it doesn't look, it looks about the same as it did on last night. So my whole conclusion, my final statement, as far as what this game actually showed me, is the fact that the Saints are a bad football team and Dennis Allen is a terrible coach. And I'm just being 100, man. I'm being 100. And look, I know that we like to be positive. Like, we like to be positive. We want to, say all these good things. But like, honestly, I don't feel like I really feel this way. I really feel like if you don't find anything to be positive, why not, you know what I'm saying? Why not express it? Like, there's nothing to be positive about with this team. Seriously. Like, it's been a long time since I seen morale this low. It's been a long time since I seen morale this low about this team. I mean, you got to go back like maybe a decade or two. Like, even in 2012, morale wasn't low because we were upset at the league. They suspended Sean Payton. It seemed like they were trying to sabotage us because, quite frankly, the Saints was putting foots in some of the most elite teams in the league. And the way that the Saints were structured, it seemed like the Saints were going to be dominant. And then all of a sudden, here come the Bounty scandal, and you're taking the Saints draft picks, and you set the guys back for a couple of years, and it took almost 2017. So that's 13, 14, 15, 16. That's 5 years in order for the Saints to recover, right? So we already know what it was. So morale wasn't really as low as it is right now. But this team is just god awful, man. God awful. There's very little leadership. Dennis Allen at the podium talking about he hoped that the Saints can win. Your quarterback throw 2 back-to-back pick sixes, and you talking about you don't need to change nothing at halftime. You're taking these with 40 some odd seconds left and 2 timeouts. Ain't even trying to get the ball into field goal range or try to score a touchdown, and you ain't getting the ball in the second half. And then you also, to follow that up, you trying to challenge something that can't even be challenged. So it just made absolutely no sense. And not to mention, this dude was actually, matter of fact, what made it so crazy about this challenge, I want to believe that he didn't even realize that Traquan Smith had a first down. I mean, so that only is a reflection of you, but that's a reflection of people that's supposed to be looking at what's going on upstairs to tell you need to challenge something. So this whole entire infrastructure when it comes to the Saints right now is just an embarrassment, man. It is absolutely embarrassing, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And I know he was talking about, man, I believe this team gonna be able to spring off some wins. Well, that makes one of us because I don't. Not with you as the coach, at least. You can tell it's the coaching that's the problem because Peyton had a practice squad last year and won more than DA with this talent. Exactly. Like the thing about it was, okay, when Jameis went down, yeah, the Saints went on a bit of a 3 or 4 game losing streak. Yeah, that's right. That's true. But at the same time, it was never like to a point where it just seemed like The body language was bad. Guys went out there like flying around the field. Like it was just the fact that, it just wasn't meant to be. You know what I'm saying? They just went on a bad little run. Not to mention, the game versus the Miami Dolphins, you had Ian Book playing in the game, and then you had a whole bunch of replacement guys. And yet at the end of the day, you still found yourself a win away and a 49ers loss away from the playoffs. Man, it's been a while since we knew that the Saints season is over by week 7. Like it's been a while since we actually witnessed this, and it's sad. It's just absolutely sad, man. But Captain Cleanup, continue to talk about how you're gonna clean this up and clean that up. As a matter of fact, I know that people wanted me, what I'm saying, to play him, strutting, what I'm saying, out into the stadium. I think it was the Houston Texans preseason game. Everybody liked that little soundbite right there. But I just feel like after everything that has been going on, I decided to kind of change it up just a little bit and give some music that is suffice to how Dennis Allen is coaching. Start playing Betty Wright, Cleanup. Okay, I feel like that's suffice. Let's play that again. There we go. That's about right. So that'll be the soundbite now. That thumbnail though. Hey man, it is what it is. We already talking about the future. Look, we've been talking about the future since the all season. Like seriously, like we've been talking about the future for a while. It just, to me, I think that's something that you need to explore. Think back to the situation when Jameis clocked the ball and got the illegal grounding called Captain Cleanup struck back then. Let's see who that TJ and everybody, after having a few hours to chew on the game. And I must say, I agree, this team has no fight in them, and we are just not playing good football. Yeah, there's no way that you can. There's no way that you can, look away or avoid the obvious. The obvious is this is not a good football team. Can they get better? Yes, they can. But I'm very, very skeptical at the guy who is leading the pack. Like I don't get any inspiration. I don't get any inspiration from this dude. Like just watching him on the sidelines or watching him conduct interviews. I don't get any type of motivation from him. So, I'm pretty sure he's a little bit more animated to the players because he has to be. But if it's any indication of what we see, I don't see how, what I'm saying, anybody can get any motivation from this dude. They would have to trade a great player in a bunch. Look, all these people that's talking about, trades and trade Michael Thomas and trade this person and that person. Y'all don't understand. A lot of these guys have new contracts, and for the Saints to trade them, they would have to take a tremendous cap hit. So y'all already talking about, oh man, we ain't got no first round pick. So imagine not having a first round pick and not having money. Like this is the New Orleans Saints. Like they dug themselves into this hole. Like rather they just felt that, okay, we got all this talent. We got Michael Thomas. We just got Jarvis Landry. We got Chris Olave. We got Alvin Kamara. There's no way that we can lose. Like we can go out here with Jameis. Ain't no way we can lose. Then you got our defense. They picking up where they left off. Man, who needs Marcus Williams? I understand Malcolm Jenkins retired, but we don't need him. We got the Honey Badger. Like we got Marcus May coming in. We gonna replace Marcus with a Marcus, right? But they didn't take into account how special these guys were, and not even the energy and the burst that a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson gives to your team. All those type of things, that are missing from this football team, and it's pretty obvious. Okay, I feel like the Saints' own arrogance got them to this point. Their arrogance, the fact that they felt like they can win with anybody, no matter who the coach is. They feel like, regardless, they can be able to win. And honestly, a part of me felt that way too. I felt that the guys that they were putting in this place, I felt like it was going to be a recipe for success. So I can't knock them for feeling that way, because as a fan and an onlooker of this team, I felt that way too. But looking at them, I just realized that a lot of the decisions that they made was based on arrogance and not just looking at the long-term solution. And you also have to think about it, folks, how hard they went out here and tried to go after Deshaun Watson, how hard that they tried to to try to steer him to New Orleans, right? Before he decides to go to Cleveland. And then you go ahead and you backtrack and you try to go out here and you get Jameis Winston. Like, okay, well, we can't get this guy, so we're going to roll with Jameis. And then instead of like you realizing, okay, man, we went out here and got Deshaun Watson and we was looking at him for a reason, is because we wasn't that sure about Jameis. But instead, you didn't even try to even put your first round pick in your back pocket, right? You decided to go out here and make a trade. So to me, that was just ridiculous in itself, because there's no way in the world you're going to go out here and try to get Deshaun Watson if you were sure about Jameis. So if you wasn't sure about Jameis, you could have thought maybe there's a little tight, you know what I'm saying, a little tiny possibility that the season may not end up being the way that we want. And, you know, if it's not, then we can end up getting a really good draft pick. So the Saints, to me, are a prisoner of their own arrogance, and their arrogance is what got them in this position. And it's what got us feeling this way right now. Laughing my behind off, man. I can't that this channel makes the losing feel a lot better. Yeah, I mean, look, man, we're just here to have fun. We talk about the team and we're frustrated and we're upset because we're fans. But at the same time, man, we love this team. It's not a deal breaker, but it is very frustrating that they're in this position. But we're gonna have some fun at the same time, man. We're gonna have some fun. Let's see. Kamara spoke to the team about how awful they are before DA did. I mean, that's what leaders do, but him speaking up to the team before their head coach does, that's very alarming. At least AK had the heart to call out the team. We need some young coaching energy at the head coach. I don't know if you need young energy. Or you just need a coach that knows what he's doing, that be able to handle the day-to-day operations. And Dennis Allen can't seem to do for some apparent reason. But you know, I was looking at an interview with Mark Ingram, and Mark Ingram was in the locker room. He was talking about we can't get down, and we know people are gonna be trying to tear us apart and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, first off, Mark, I love you. I do, man. I appreciate everything you have done in the Saints uniform. But nobody is trying to tear you apart. Your team is trying to tear you apart. Don't put this on us, okay? What we want is what we want were based on the expectations that you all put out there. You were the ones that assembled this team and put this thing together, and y'all was talking about Super Bowl, and y'all was talking about going to playoffs and winning games, right? That's what they wanted us to believe, okay? So by y'all going out here not winning and badly doing bad execution and getting in your own way, you are the ones that's tearing you apart, because you're making it easy for the onlookers to completely like ball this team up and throw it in the trash. And you're making fans very, very disinterested, because their hearts and their minds are not going to just take a team that is so good and really has the right pieces going out there just wetting the bed week after week. So if anybody is the reason for this team to be falling apart, or possibility of division, is your own doing. It's not the fans, it's you all. Who that, TJ? It looks like every week this team gets harder and harder to watch with all of the mistakes, missed tackles, and penalties going on. It's time to clean out the coaching staff. Well, I will say this, Ramsey. I will say this. I do have an appreciation for this when it comes to Dennis Allen. I want to thank Dennis Allen for really smoking out these so-called Saints fans. That's what I'm talking about. I think finally we can get back to the get back, right? We can go out here and we can really see who the real Saints fans is. Not these guys that have been posing for years that, you know what I'm saying, Saints won the game, and you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna put on my Saints gear and I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna let everybody know I'm a Saints fan. I'm gonna say who that. I'm gonna jump in some of these Falcon groups, these Panther group, these Bucks group, and I'm a grandstand. Like it's time to go ahead and get these people up out of here that really don't care that much about the team, that's just only been riding a wave like a surfer in Long Beach, California. Like seriously, it is good. That's the best part about all this, man, because the fake, phony, artificial Saints fans that's been out here, that's been posing, that really has loved this team, you know, not unconditionally, but conditionally. Finally, we can get rid of those people and we can get back to being the real true Saints fans and love this team regardless, but also talk about the imperfections of what they're going through right now. So Dennis Allen, Thank you for that. I appreciate. I appreciate you for separating the wheat from the tail. All right, Roger, thank you very much for the $2. Says up, TJ. What did I miss? We're just talking about the game on yesterday and what did we learn. I know this is not an excuse, but why are we keep losing these key players to injuries? We could have used those guys, but we're still losers at this point. Look, I understand that injuries do occur. I get it. But when I look at these other teams being able to rise above injuries, even the team last night, right? I mean, you had Blankenship out there. Blankenship just got signed. Okay, Matt Prater was their kicker. They lost their kicker. They lost two of their offensive linemen. I want to say Rodney Hudson, the starting center, he's not out there anymore. I want to say Justin Pugh, he's lost for the season. You had your third string running back, and even he ran for almost 100 yards. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was rusty. I mean, he couldn't even get into the building until Monday of this week. So they had all these things going on. And not to mention, Kyler Murray been playing like straight up hot garbage all season long. And Cliff Kingsbury is on a hot seat. But guess what? They found a way to beat the New Orleans Saints. So I'm just saying, man, when is it going to come a time where we just got to stop making these excuses for these guys and just realize that this team is just not good? It's just not good, man. Everywhere I look, I see teams that have to overcome adversity, and they're doing a better job than Dennis Allen Saints. I mean, we may not want to admit that because it's hard for us to look in a mirror or hard for us to look at a television and critique a team that we love so much. But you have to be real with yourself. You got to be real with yourself, and you can't fake the funk. This is not a good football team, and it's their own doing. Even them being out, being limited at corner with Marshawn Lattimore being out, at wide receiver, Chris Olave wasn't playing last week in that game versus Cincinnati. Landry, Thomas, they still was supposed to win that game. They still had an opportunity to win the game. No Michael Thomas, no Jarvis Landry, no Marshawn Lattimore. And yet they still could have won this game yesterday versus the Arizona Cardinals. So it just comes a time when you just realize that this team just isn't good. It's just not good. Like, it's just what it is, man. Like, when you're getting 61, 62-yard receptions from Kevin White, right? You getting 53-yard touchdowns from an undrafted rookie. You still finding ways to win or be in a game or having possibilities of winning. It's hard for me just to accept, the Saints are losing because they ain't got Michael Thomas. No, man, I feel like that's low-hanging fruit. That, like, basically, you know what I'm saying? That's a cop-out. That's when people don't want to come to the realization that their team is not good, right? It's like, to me, like, you not wanting to admit a close family member, a person that you love, is on drugs. Like, you see all the signs, right? You know what I'm saying? They showing up late. You know what I'm saying? They scratching. They got the itch. They looking all around. They looking paranoid. You know what I'm saying? Your money coming up missing. And you're like, nah, man, they just going through it right now, right? You ever seen the episode of Good Times? When JJ fiance, who was played by Debbie Allen, y'all remember when she was on drugs? Some of y'all probably lost. Y'all probably know what I'm talking about. But, they went in the bedroom and they found, they found like the needles and stuff like that. And they found like the armband, that she found the vein with. And they telling JJ, and, James get on the phone like, JJ, I'm sorry, but man, she's a junkie, and JJ didn't want to believe it. He was like, man, y'all just trying to tear us apart. Then JJ goes into the bathroom. He realized Debbie Allen and went out the window because JJ left her bag at the house and the parents found it. Like, that's what this is right now. Like, if you don't want to accept that the Saints aren't a good football team right now, then you basically JJ, you know what I'm saying, on the phone with James Evans talking about, nah, I don't believe you. Okay, just go to the bathroom and realize that window is wide open and they gone. When our opponents see us, they think it's a bye week. Exactly. 94 style. Allen got too much on his plate, overwhelmed, using big words like despondent, worried about coaching. Look, I know people was talking about, I heard the whispers. Everybody, man, well, Dennis Allen, what he need to do is give up the play calling duties. Bro, if you're talking about this 1 year in, like this, like We ain't start talking about Sean Payton giving up the offensive play calling duties to Pete Carmichael probably until like 2014, 2015 or something like that. But it took years for us to like just sit up there and just like, man, Sean Payton may have lost his fastball here. Like, so I don't know, man. Like, you 1 year in and we up here talking about getting rid of the defensive play calling duties. I don't know about that one, man. I don't know about that. Like, I don't understand why we trying to save this man. We try. I don't know why are we trying to save him. It all starts with the defense. AK addressed the team after the game. TJ, yeah, I heard about that. And I'm happy that he did, man. But I don't know. You can't want it for people. You got to want it for yourself, right? I can go up in here and I can try to instill confidence inside of you. I can instill a belief inside of you, like, man, you can do it, man. I believe in you. I seen you putting the work in, man. You really have it, man. You smart, you talented. You got everything it takes in order for you to be the best. All that's missing is a little confidence in you, man. You got to believe in yourself. I can say all those things, but I can't do it for you. I can't lead you by the hand like a horse lead, a man leading a horse to water. You got to want it yourself. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Passionate Newt Rodney speeches are really good, talking about winning one for the Gipper, but do you believe you can win it for the Gipper? Do you really feel like you can turn the season around, or are you just counting your money? Right? Or maybe you just already then phoned it in, man. I'm already here, man. People know who I am, man. Google me, you know what I'm saying? Hit me up on Wikipedia, all right? You know what I'm saying? You can see my contract. I guess that's what people are on right now, because honestly, there's no passion coming out of New Orleans. Maybe a little bit by some players, but for the most part, man, I'm very disappointed in a lot of these players, man, and how they just lack passion this season. Never trust a person with the initials DA. I'm just trying to see how we went from sugar to ish in one season. I don't know. I have no idea. I remember TJ that episode. Yeah, that's probably one of the most well-known episodes of Good Time right there. Let's see. They won't fire me. They won't fire him. They like him because he's a nice guy. Well, you know what they say about nice guys. They finish last. And that's what the Saints at right now. In the basement. Somebody called John Gruden, free that man. Pammy, let's see. Dalton has been a backup ever since he left Cincinnati. That should tell you something. Look, Andy is who he is. Like, I can't even beat up on a guy who is who he is. Like, if you've been following football since 2011, you didn't watch Andy Dalton's career from start to finish. You know what he is, okay? I don't understand, like, why we just think that all of a sudden, like, somebody puts on the Saints uniform and, you know what I'm saying, like, and without coaching, without guidance, it's just going to be able to do some things. I just don't believe that. I think that it takes a player with a combination of coaching, because it takes a coach to be able to coach some of the bad qualities out of a guy. That's why I don't feel like it's a coincidence that Jameis Winston earlier in the season was throwing interceptions. I just feel like Sean Payton allowed him to kind of like settle down and let him see the play. Like, you can literally see Sean Payton talking to Jameis every single, like almost every drive, good or bad, right? And if it's bad, like he in his face talking to him. And I just think that it takes a certain type of coach to do that. Okay, you can have your Microsoft Pro and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. And being able to look at the little slideshows and defensive ways they were trying to come at you. That's cool. But it takes a coach to be able to put a coach around a player, or actually be that coach for that player. And that's what the Saints don't have. So I don't think it's a coincidence. And I can't even beat up on Andy Dalton, because Andy Dalton was at sometimes a really good but average quarterback that played, on a team that was kind of similar to, what the Saints are going through. Like, Marvin Lewis was a defensive-minded coach, right? And of course, you had like offensive coordinators that he worked with. I want to say Jay Gruden was his offensive coordinator when he had most of his success. And, like, it takes a coach to be able to push that out of him. But look, Andy Dalton, he threw some interceptions yesterday. It was bad. It took the Saints out of the game. But at this stage, what he like in 12 years into the league, like, I don't think anybody is expecting Andy Dalton to channel his inner Joe Montana. I mean, I just don't. Tim, thank you very much for the $20. Says TJ, do you think the Saints are even an attractive landing spot for any head coach? We don't have a quarterback. 50% of our players are retiring soon, and we don't have money to get a free agent quarterback. We might be stuck with Allen. Look, that's a good point, Tim. And I thought about that too. And shouts out to my guy Jeff Nowak. I think he kind of expressed that on his show, on the Black and Gold podcast that he has. But yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. But at the same time, I'm not in the business of trying to keep a guy around because I can't find nobody. Look, I fail to believe that you don't have a coach out here that would be interested to be able to be interested in wanting to coach a guy like a Chris Olave or a Taysom Hill or a Alvin Kamara or have a really good, a decent offensive line. Like they have guys out here that can play the quarterback position that can probably give you a little something. And heck, everybody just automatically just assume that, oh, if a guy isn't coming out of the first round, then all of a sudden, like he can't be a formidable quarterback. He can't be a playoff winning quarterback. We've seen quarterbacks go in the second round, in the third round, hell, even in the fourth round, and still have, a really good career. Now we'll look at guys like, Patrick Mahomes, who was the 10th pick overall. We'll look at Josh Allen. I think he was like maybe the 6th or the 7th pick overall. Don't quote me on that. We'll start looking at guys like that. But then, you have to look at guys that were late in the first round, like Lamar Jackson, like guys that were, like that became legends, like Drew Brees, that was a second round pick. Andy Dalton had a serviceable career. He was a second round pick. He was a franchise quarterback. See, we just automatically just think that if a guy isn't falling into the top 5, then all of a sudden, like he's nothing. Like to me, you look at a guy like Malik Willis, I feel like he's gonna end up being a starting quarterback in Tennessee and have a really good career. I just think that sometimes we just get so fixated on that first round pick, and we like, okay, man, you got Bryce Young out there, you got CJ Stroud, right? But at the same time, you still got some talented guys out here that you can possibly get in free agency. Like you look around, I can see the Saints maybe making a move if things don't work out with Jameis. I can see them making a move, getting a guy like Tyler Huntley. I can see, them working out a deal. Who knows? The way that guy, Bailey Zappi is playing out there in New England, like he's making it very interesting. And we all know that Bill Belichick is not one of those coaches that be like, okay, man, Mac Jones is our quarterback. He gonna go with the guy that's hot. He gonna go with the dude. So we don't know what's gonna happen out there. So there are guys out here that can go out here and play the position well, that they're still looking for homes. And yet, they might have somebody out there that might just need a new landing spot. And with the right coach, you'll be able to bring that out of them. I'm not in a business like once you see what a player is, that's who he is. Like sometimes it's about coaching, it's about location, it's about what's being instilled inside of a guy. So there are different options that the Saints can lose. Not all hope is lost because you can't draft a quarterback in the first round. Tragic 504, thank you very much for 199. Says why Ellis up at defensive tackle when the run's still at play. Let's see. He's the best play caller in football. Why not? Take the weekend off, guys. Good game last night. Yeah, they battled their tail off. Okay, they gave up over 140 yards rushing and basically just allow a makeshift offensive line to just push them around. I seen one play. I want to say it was the running back Ingram for the Arizona Cardinals. This man put a block on Marcus Davenport, knocked him flat on his behind. Now keep in mind, Davenport at this particular time, he got to be almost 300 pounds, okay? I guess due to like the surgeries and stuff like that he had, he wasn't able to really work out the way that he wants. But so I'm like, you almost 300 pounds, man. You let a 215, 200, maybe 20-pound guy at best knock you down in the dirt like that. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. The key and maybe last hope is trading Peyton's coaching rights for draft picks. There's plenty of teams who need a new head coach. That's a good point. Who don't want to play for us, the Who That Nation. Hell, Tom Brady was a 7th round draft pick. Look at him now. Let's see. I'll back the brink truck up for Lamar. Saints was an attractive spot after Hurricane Katrina, but Sean Payton came and changed the mindset and turned it around. It can be done. Yeah, I mean, this is we looking at it like, man, this team is all gloom and doom, man. But they got some pieces on this team that guys would be willing to coach. Hope y'all don't get mad, but Cam Jordan might need up with Kansas City this year. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. As great as Cam Jordan has been throughout his career, like I will if he can't do it with the Saints, I would love to see him go somewhere else to try to get himself a championship. Like if he can't get it with the Saints, I would love for him to go somewhere else and be able to, at least play in a Super Bowl. If you can't win, at least to know what it feels like. For him to be on this team for 12 years and have been a straight up Iron Man throughout the entire time he was here. He's second in NFL, like among active players in sacks, only to Von Miller. He's putting together a Hall of Fame career. Like I wouldn't be mad at that. Like seriously, I would not be mad if Cam Jordan was to get traded to a contender so he can get himself or try to get himself a championship. I wouldn't even get mad at that because that man deserved better. That man is like, what, 32 years old, and you got 23, 24-year-old guys out there that's supposed to have a higher, a better motor, supposed to have way more energy than he do, and he just outplaying them. So I wouldn't even be mad at that. Yeah, Penny was mauling people and run blocking. Alante Taylor taking a Debo spot. And the way a Debo playing, that's not too far-fetched. This is the worst Saints team I've seen in 30 years. Our offense is okay, and our defense can't tackle. This is not winning Saints football. Boy. 30. Nah. No, sir. No, it ain't. 30 years? I can't agree with you on that one, man. I didn't see much worse than this. Right here. I don't know how old y'all seen. I'm pretty sure if you say 30 years, you got to be 30 plus. But, man, I'm telling you, man, sometimes like we prisoners of our own like reality, right? And we going through it right now. We going through the motions, and it seems like it can't get any worse. But man, just go back and look at some of them 93, 94 teams. You tell me that you would rather stomach those teams than this team. We have no serious pass rushers at all. Kellen Moore, the perfect fit for the Saints. The situation isn't nearly as dire as we think. Remember when the Rams hired Sean McVay? I'm not a fan of Kellen Moore. I'm not a fan of it. Like what is he done? Like what is he done? What has he done out there in Dallas? Dallas is doing basically the same thing that the Saints are doing. They're running the football and they playing defense. Way better defense. I don't want to say what they're doing what the Saints doing because the Saints can't stop a nosebleed right now. But what they're doing is they're doing something similar to what the Saints are doing. They running, they controlling the time possession. They only asking Cooper Rush to throw when necessary to be able to sustain drives. And they playing really good lights out defense. So what is Kellen Moore actually doing? Where's the dial-up plays? Where's the trickery? Where's the innovation? I don't see it. Right? All I see is 3 yards in a cloud of dust and 3-step drop from Cooper Rush. That's not going to me, that's not very impressive. Now, if you want to talk about Joe Brady, maybe, you know what I'm saying? You want to look at him, as a guy that can come in and be an offensive innovator. Yeah. A guy like Ken Dorsey, yeah, I'm on board with that. But Kellen Moore, like, nah, man, nah. I mean, you basically looking at the same thing the Saints are running as far as offensive. They just play better defense. I know offense against Kellen Moore. I think maybe in a couple of years we can have this conversation, man. But Brian, not right now, man. I just think that we're basically, if you were talking about Kellen Moore, you're only talking about him because the Dallas Cowboys have a good record this season. But it's not because of what he's doing. It's not because of what he's doing. I mean, he's basically Pete Carmichael for the Cowboys. Like seriously, they run, all they're doing is basically running the ball as much as the Saints are, and they have a much better defense under Dan Quinn. So I wouldn't put him in that category. Like if you want to talk about Joe Brady, okay, let's talk about it. All right, you want to talk about Eric Bieniemy, let's talk about it. You want to talk about Ken Dorsey, let's talk about him. You know what I'm saying? Some guys that you can actually see their calling card. I mean, you look at Buffalo, man, they putting foots in folk, right? Now you can say it's because of Josh Allen, but Josh Allen has improved his completion percentage. He has improved his decision making, his deep ball accuracy. And all the plays that's being called right now by those two gentlemen is making Josh Allen the runaway MVP. So for that, those are the type of guys that I would like to see on the sidelines on Sunday versus a guy, like Kellen Moore, who, what has he really done? The Cowboys are winning. They're winning right now with the third in the division because the division is so good this year. But Kellen Moore hasn't done nothing that was that impressive, not to me at least. I'm 43 and I do remember those teams, but we never had talent on both sides of the ball and be horrible like this. Well, that is true, but to be honest with you, I don't think we ever really truly had the type of like notoriety and this much star power at one time on the team. Now we've had some guys that had some star powers, but it was like almost like they were at the twilight of their career, right? They were kind of running on fumes at that time. But man, them 94 Saints teams, like they were terrible. Like they were awful. Like at least in like there's a chance that the Saints can win. Like back in the days, like you knew there was no way in hell the Saints were gonna win on Sunday. Like the only reason why you watching that game or listening to the game, rather, you probably if you're 43, you was listening to the games. Like me, I'm 36. You got a couple years on me, but you probably was listening to the games because they were blacked out. So I would take this Saints over the Saints that I grew up watching. I'll say that. How we get a defensive minded coach and two defensive coordinators and the defense atrocious? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe I don't know. Joe Brady got ran out of Carolina though. No, that wasn't his fault. He was a scapegoat. That dude was a straight up scapegoat, and I think it's pretty obvious that he was. Like the David Tepper. He doesn't have patience for anything, right? And I just think that Matt Rule was the guy that had the big contract, and Joe Brady was the scapegoat because fair enough. He got ran out of Carolina, but look at him in Buffalo. Okay, so is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence that he's out there in Buffalo and they're putting up some of the, they one of the most high scoring teams in the National Football League? All right, you go to LSU, alongside, their offensive coordinator, and Joe Burrow had one of the most historical seasons in college football history. I'm just saying. I'm just saying though. So I don't know. Maybe Joe Brady got a bad shake. It looked like it. Everybody that's around Matt Rule end up, going away, walking off, wanting to get traded. If it walk like a duck, talk like a duck, sound like a duck, flies like a duck, it ain't no Kodiak Bear, it's a duck. So he has a good track record, in my opinion. The Saints can't even use the hanky in their back pocket to stop a nosebleed. Yeah, they pretty bad, man. They pretty bad at football right now. Saints already knew they were going to give DA the job. Bringing in other coaches was all cap. E-Mac, you're absolutely right about that. They knew what they wanted to do. I don't know if Rex Ryan still wants to coach, but I would seriously look in his direction and go get a Joe Brady for OC. Let's see. I have a feeling at these hurt players are not that hurt, and they just don't like Allen. I don't even think it's that they don't like Allen. I think they like Dennis Allen, but I just think that they're making business decisions. All right. Why are you trying to rush back when your team is 2-5? Like, it's not like, okay, let me hurry up and get back so we can make the playoffs. Right. Maybe these guys could play, maybe they could battle, but just the thought of being out there and re-aggravating yourself when you ain't got no chance of making the playoffs, or making the playoffs is the chances are slim to none. It's hard not to look at that. So maybe, okay, I can play, but I'd rather wait another week so I can be fully healthy if I'm going to go out there and have to subject myself to this. Jordan Johnson, this is the last guy you want anywhere near the controls of the franchise. And now Roby injured. TJ, if you are Loomis, what's your next move? To fire Dennis Allen? Ken Dorsey is a former quarterback. He knows how to chunk up the offense. Buffalo hasn't completely changed their identity a few years back with him calling the plays and Josh Allen running the offense. Yeah, they haven't really changed their identity, but they have found ways in order to utilize Josh Allen's strengths. And that's something that you need as a coordinator. Like a coordinator needs to go in there and kind of break everything down. Like, Josh, okay, man, look, we believe in you. We know you have talent, this ability. We want to know what you do best. And he probably picks those plays out and they just draw up a game plan. And it'll just tell you how old I am, man. I remember when Ken Dorsey was playing at Miami. So I'm definitely getting up there, man. I remember when Ken Dorsey was out there in Miami, in the national championship game against Ohio State. I remember that game. That's when Willis McGahee tore everything he had in his knee. Yeah, Ken Dorsey was the quarterback at that time. Facts. Let's see. Do you think Dennis Allen and both defensive coordinators will go to their old positions if we get a new head coach? No. Defensive coordinators, head coaches that get fired, they do not, stay on the staff, right? Number one is because I guess they don't want to subject themselves to that level of humiliation of being demoted and being within the organization. It'd be one thing if you're an interim, you might be more willing to do that. So I don't see that happening. And then number two, if you do hire a new head coach, I'm pretty sure he's going to want his own personnel, and maybe he might want to go, in a different direction, especially since Dennis Allen's last title would be being a head coach. So maybe he'll be skeptical. Maybe the players will maybe want to come to him more so than actually coming to the actual head coach, the new appointed head coach. So that's the way that I look at it, man. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I really do appreciate it, man. I hope everybody has a good weekend. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Okay, buddy. YouTube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. Please hit the like button before you leave. I appreciate all 225 plus that actually tuned into the show. Enjoy yourself. We're back in a couple days as the Saints take on the Las Vegas Raiders. And landlord said, bring back Baptiste. He saved the backfield.
Man, sit your dumb ass down.
We're not going to go there. But shouts out to Josh, man. Thank you so much. Till next time, all I got to say is, who that?